We've seen auto sales, and what really stands out is that we've seen some pickup in commercial vehicles. But what about its financing? Is that also going through an upswing? S. Velyan, Managing Director of Cholamandalam Investment and Finance, now joins in. Mr. Velyan, hi, good morning. You've seen some pickup in good morning, some pickup in sales of commercial vehicles. Do you get a sense that the financing activity is also picking up? And if you could give us some data on that?
Yes, Anuj. So, we're seeing very slight pickups in heavy commercial vehicles. But if you take the commercial vehicle segments and break it down into heavy commercials, lights and smalls, the light commercial vehicles and small commercial vehicles are still not seeing any pickup at all. As a matter of fact, from a financing perspective, definitely they've been worse off than the past. Heavy, especially in terms of fleet buyers, are beginning to see some pickup. But I'd still say that it's too early to kind of call it a specific trend because we've not seen enough sustained information to support it.
Okay, and in terms of inquiries, do you think you get a sense that maybe the next quarter would be better based on the anecdotal evidence that over the last 2 or 3 months we have seen clear pickup in sentiment as well? Do you get a sense that the next quarter would be better?
Yes, Anuj, definitely sentiment is much more positive. So all the customers we meet, everybody, the sentiment is much more positive. I think the bigger issue is that real cash flows have not improved in the hands of, especially, the smaller commercial vehicle owners, which are predominantly the commercial vehicle owners we deal with. And so we've not seen any real cash flow improvement in their hands, which is what's really required to translate into more sustained sales.
Okay. Mr. Vellayan, good to see you in today. Your domestic MHCV segment was down 25% in FY14 in terms of total financing. Do you think that it will decline this year in FY15, or will it be flat or maybe a marginal growth? Just to get a sense in terms of what the ground reality is.
Yeah, Ekta, if you look at the trends, right, I mean, last year has been really bad. So just given the fact that, we've not had 2 good years in MHCV now, I mean, for the last 2 years at least have been bad. So definitely just the fact that, you'd have some base effect advantage, which would say that this year is going to be flat to slightly up. We haven't seen any trends, like I said, kind of in the lights and smalls yet. But if you take MHCV, yes, I would say flat to slightly up compared to last year.
How is financing towards the tractor segment doing? Because we do understand that it's around only 10% of your disbursements. But we did have some data that came out from Escorts, which was not that encouraging in terms of the tractor, at least the tractor sales that they recorded. What is the on-ground reality in terms of financing for tractor sales? How much has a deficient monsoon impacted it?
Yes, Ekta, tractor has definitely been hit by the monsoons. Monsoons, there are 2 effects from the monsoons. One is, a majority of India still continues to be rain-fed, so there's that effect. But also the monsoons significantly affect the sentiment of the farmers. And we've seen, both all the large manufacturers have kind of slowed down a bit, and we have seen, definitely kind of a muted tone in as far as tractors are concerned. So we definitely are not going to see much. We're still seeing growth, Ekta, predominantly because we started off with a fairly small market share. But overall, the industry is not going to see much growth this year.
Okay, so Mr. Vellayan, final question from my end. Q1, as you said, flat to marginal positive is something that you expect. Q1, of course, we had 7% NII growth and about 4 or 5% profit growth. For the year as a whole, do you think there's a chance of reaching double-digit growth mark, or would you say that high single-digit would be the best?
Anuj, I'm an optimist, no? So is there a chance of double-digit? I'd always say yes. Obviously, it depends on what the market's going to look like in the second half, and I don't think anybody has a crystal ball. I think the way everybody's looking at it now, and it's very similar to most of the other people we've been hearing on your channel, is that sentiments have gotten positive, but there's no real changes in terms on the ground, in terms of either cash flows or in terms of people suddenly opening up their wallets and spending much more. Even in terms of infrastructure spending, we've not seen that hit yet, because as soon as those trends hit, people start buying new trucks to service specific markets. We've not seen that hit yet. Definitely, if that hits and the spending does start to increase, yes, double-digit growth is possible. But it's really going to depend on some real pickup on the ground, which we've not seen yet.
Okay. All right, Mr. Vellayan, we have a lot more questions, but completely run out of time. Thank you very much for joining in and taking us through your views. So maybe we could see about a flattish growth in MHCV financing as opposed to the 25% decline that was recorded in FY14. That's Cholamandalam Investment. That stock is up around 1.5%. We'll take a